Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, since I'm going to be giving birth in less than 2 weeks, actually 11 days is the countdown to my scheduled C-section, I decided that I was going to tell the birth story for my other 2 children. I wrote some notes because just to make sure that I remember everything. My first child was born 11 years ago, so I ain't gonna remember everything. So if you see me look down, that's what I'm looking down at. But my first birth, I was 17, woo child, and obviously I did not know at all what to expect because I was 17. So with Holly's birth, who is now 11, I had a natural birth. I don't know if it was natural on purpose or accident. I'm still not really sure that to this day, but either way, it was a natural birth. So that morning of March 24th, which is the day she was born, I'm out of breath because I'm very pregnant, child. But that morning, I woke up to contractions. And I didn't know what contractions were gonna feel like, so I would like ask my mom, like, what are contractions gonna feel like? And she was like, when you have contractions, you'll know you having contractions. And she was right. So I woke up, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, I was in pain. I went and told my mom, like, oh my God. And you know, when it's your first baby and you having contractions, you feel like, oh, I'm about to have this baby like right now. But obviously that's not how it works. So my mom like, don't worry about it. I had a doctor's appointment that day, so she was like, we're gonna go to the doctor. They're gonna check you out or whatever, see how, you know, how dilated you are. So don't worry about it. So my contractions still were coming, but they weren't that close together. So I got to the doctor. They checked me and they said I was only like 1 centimeter. And so they were like, you're probably not gonna have a baby today since it's your first baby. You know, they always try to make it seem like you might be in labor for days or a long time. So, my mom we left the doctor's appointment. She was like, you having this baby today. Because first of all, they didn't really know they gave me 2 different due dates. So they gave me a due date of the 18th and they gave me one of the 25th. And they were going based off her measurements of my stomach, not even my last menstrual cycle. So one was based off my last menstrual cycle and one was based off my stomach measurements, which were completely off because they were saying she was measuring small, which she turned out to be 7 pounds and 14 ounces. So she was 2 ounces away from being an 8-pound baby, which is really big for someone my size. So my mom was like, you gonna have this baby today. So she was like, let's go get something to eat because once we go to the hospital, they not gonna let you eat nothing. So we went to IHOP, which I hate IHOP, but I guess then it was like, all right. But we went to IHOP and I'm like breathing through my contractions, like as I'm trying to order my food. And I ordered like a bunch of stuff. I had like eggs and then I had like a sampler platter with like mozzarella cheese and all this other type of stuff on it. I do not recommend anybody eat a whole big old meal before you getting ready to go in and give birth, but that's what I did. So we went to the hospital, and at this point it's like 10 a.m. I want to say at this point. I'm not really sure, but I think it was around that time by the time I went to the hospital. So they're like, well, since I was past due because they're going off the 18th and not the 25th date, then they were just gonna go ahead and induce me or go ahead and give me the Pitocin since I was already having contractions and I was dilating. So all I remember is them giving me the Pitocin, and I was doing okay with the contractions because I was breathing through them and everything like that. We called our family and let her dad know that that I was in labor, and we called my sisters and everybody and let them know. So I remember everybody coming up to the hospital and it was all a good time. And I remember they gave me some medicine through the IV, and that medicine through the IV makes you very loopy. I'm not sure what that medicine's called, but I was like really loopy. And I remember hearing a woman in the room next to me screaming, and I was like, that's gonna be me in a little while, isn't it? Like, just out of it. And so I'm just going through labor. Me and my mom had taken some classes on breathing and stuff like that, and my focus was the Lord's Prayer. So that's what I was saying, to make it through my contractions, to be thinking on something different, to not be screaming or tensing up my body. So at that point, I don't think I had decided that I wanted an epidural. I think my mom was thinking like, okay, it's best to do it natural, because she had 5 babies natural. How she did that, no idea. But at that point, I still didn't want the epidural out because I was making through it. Of course, I had breaks in between the contractions. And then, so my family and everybody started showing up, my friends and everything. And at this point, I'm in a lot of pain. They're liking, they're having a good time, just talking, laughing, chatting it up. And then her grandmother was on the side of me, like looking at the contractions, and she's like, oh, here comes a big one, here comes another big one. And obviously I'm in the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like, I don't even know how to explain this pain, but the worst pain I ever felt in my life. And the fact that I'm on the Pitocin is just amplifying this pain. So I'm like not at all pleasant at this point. Like, I had my mom in the headlock, like it just wasn't good. And then my dad's like trying to come and kiss me in the face and everything. And I remember like either like mushing him or like slapping him or something, just to like get him off of me, because at this point I'm having like major contractions. And then I remember like yelling and putting everybody out the room because they're like having a party, and I'm like trying to, you know, bring a human into the world. Like, what are y'all doing? So I remember there was only supposed to be 2 people in the room. So there was gonna be my mom and her dad in the room. But my sister that's right above me, she's 9 years older than me, she wanted to be in the room as well. And of course she's rebellious, she doesn't listen. So she somehow snuck in and hid behind the curtains in the hospital in the room and ended up standing there. So I had 3 people in the room. But I remember when it was getting closer to me supposed to be delivering, I was like, I could barely speak because the pain was so bad, and I'm like asking for an epidural. And I guess at this point they were saying like, oh, the anesthesiologist was busy, or I was too far along. I don't know. I feel like it was a Catholic hospital, so I think they wanted me to have a natural birth anyway. I don't know. But either way, I didn't get the epidural. And I remember I pooped on the table, obviously, because I had a bunch of food before I came, which is why I say I do not recommend eating a large meal before you get ready to go in and have a baby. And guess what? I did not care at all that I pooped on the people's table. They wiped it up, wrapped everything up, and kept it pushing. And I had no shame, because at this point, look, take me to the king. I'm in the worst pain I've ever been in my life. I don't know where it's coming from. I still can't even explain to you where it was just like a pain from the front all the way around. Like, it was just the worst. I really thought at this point, somebody bring in the priest, say the last prayer over me, and tell my daughter I love her, because I'm not gonna make it. Like, at this point, I'm about to die. I'm not gonna make it. The upper room. So I'm going through, and at this point it's like 10 something at night. So I've been in labor like 10 hours at this point, probably longer. I don't know if I was supposed to count before I got to the hospital, but from the time I got to the hospital to the time it's like almost time for me to birth the baby. I'm at 10 hours. So I feel the need to start pushing, and so I'm telling the nurses like I need to push, and they're steady just walking around like, woo, like they have, like, this young girl don't know what the heck she's talking about. We gonna tell her when it's time to start pushing. But if you've ever had a baby before, naturally, you know your body's gonna expel this baby. Like, I had no choice but to start pushing. So I just burned down and I started pushing. So they're like running to me, trying to hurry up and put my feet up in the stirrups because I'm pushing. So I feel like obviously when you have a baby, you kind of lose all track of time. Like, everything is a blur. So So I feel like I was pushing for quite some time, and then all of a sudden I feel like there was a bunch of student doctors in the room. I don't even know what paperwork I signed to even allow these student doctors in the room. But like I said, I'm in the worst pain of my life. I have no time to be trying to tell these people like I don't want them in here or to get them out of here or any of that. Like, I'm just like, get this child out of me now. So I'm pushing. They tried to use the vacuum because she kept going in and out. My sister's on the side of me. She's on the side of me screaming, like she's having the baby, losing her mind. The dad is in a corner somewhere, like hiding behind a wall, and I'm over here with my mom in the headlock, like trying to get this baby out. So I push for what feels like forever. Still, she's going in and out. So they ended up, I feel like one of the student doctors gave me an episiotomy because my doctor was on maternity leave because she was pregnant at the same time as me. So that was weird. But yeah, I got like a horrible episiotomy. Like she just like slices me like like she had a machete or something, like. But at this point, I do not care. Get this child out of me now. So I mean, at some point she finally emerges after pushing, and I'm like crying, just like of relief, just because I've been in this labor for so long, what feels like forever, in the worst pain I ever felt in my life. So she comes out, I'm like out of it. I'm so exhausted. I was like, can y'all wipe her off and everything first? Because I didn't want that. So I'm like, wipe her off. So they wiped her off, and I didn't really hear her crying. So I'm like, she okay? Like, yeah, she's fine. So they was, suctioning everything to get her all cleaned up and everything. So they handed her to me. I looked at her, and I'm like, she's actually a pretty baby. Like, most babies come out looking like alien things, but she was actually cute. So then, of course, my mom and her dad and everybody hold her and they feed her and all that while I'm getting stitched back up. And then I feel like, I don't know at what point some drama had broke off between his family and my family. My daughter's godmom came in and told me, and I don't remember if it was during my labor, like early labor, or if it was like after the labor. I can't really remember. But all I know is she came in and she was like, my oldest sister asked who was in the room with me, and then my dad responded by saying her mom and that little boy, and that I guess rubbed his mom wrong. And so she started trying to go like, oh, don't be calling my son no little boy and da-da-da-da-da. Mind you, my dad had not met these people yet. My dad was kind of keeping his distance. He was already a little upset at the fact that his daughter was pregnant at 17. And he had heard, that they were kind of giving me a hard time and just taking me through it. So he was already riled up at this point. My dad does not play about me at all, any of his daughters. So basically, from what I was told, my dad got to the thing, when he gets to this, I don't give a when he gets to that, it's game over. It ain't no bringing him back. And so he basically was like, yeah, I heard about how y'all been treating my baby, and I don't care if I say here little boy, then here little boy. And then my sister jumps in because she hasn't met them yet either, and she's like, yeah, and I heard this and this and that, and I'll put y'all in the ICU and da 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 da. This has all been told to me. This is what I was told happened in the waiting room while I'm trying to give birth to this baby. So it almost went down. I'm not really sure what de-escalated it or how it got de-escalated, but it didn't come to blows. But I know that it was very close to coming to blows. But I think their family was so rowdy, and they thought that I was so like cool, calm, and collected, that I must have came from like a good family, which I mean I do come from a good family, but they with the shits. So I don't think they knew that my family was with the shits, or that my sisters was like rowdy like they are. So yeah, that was a mess. But overall, it made me feel like, okay, I don't want to do this again, at least not for a very long time, which is obviously why my children have a 9-year age gap, because I was not trying to experience that again. So I guess the whole natural birth thing worked that way. So yeah, she was born at March 24th, 10:18 p.m., 7 pounds 14 ounces. So I want to say she was like 21 inches, so she was a pretty big baby. But like during my pregnancy, they were trying to say, oh, we think, like they were looking at my ultrasound and they were saying we think that she might have some type of Down syndrome because of the way the bridge of her nose was or something like that. And they were asking me, did I want to terminate my pregnancy and all these other type of things. And I'm like, no, if that's something that, that we have to deal with, that's something we have to deal with when we get there. And they asked me, did I want to do the like amniotic fluid test. I declined that as well. So when I had her, nobody told me that there was anything wrong with her or anything. It was just like they just handed her to me. Nobody gave me any updates. They did, the little hearing test, everything came back normal. So I was like, I'm assuming she's fine, which she was fine, but it was just the fact that nobody ever brought it up again once she was born, or even kind of was like, oh, she doesn't have Down syndrome, she's fine. But I knew she didn't. But at this moment, at that point, I'm hormonal, I just had a baby, I'm a teenager. So the next day I can remember my mom was helping me like change her clothes, and they give them the little half tops, and my mom's like, just leave this half top on her so she doesn't get cold, and put the other shirt on over. And when I did that, her arm got stuck like this. Oh my God, I almost lost my mind, just because in the back of my mind I'm still like, does my baby have Down syndrome? Does she not have Down syndrome? I'm like, I cannot do this. Like, I just literally broke out crying. Mom's like, you're gonna be fine. You got this, you can do this. So like I said, obviously she didn't have Down syndrome, but like at that moment, just her arm getting, even just thinking about it, it was just a nuts experience. But I made it through it, and I didn't have another baby for 9 years, which I'm gonna do a part 2, and I'll tell you about Zuri's birth experience, which is quite different than Holly's. So stay tuned for part 2. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, let me know. That's it.